What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, and we are back to properly start the Rufus Wainwright deep dive. People might remember I reacted to one of his tunes as part of the We Save Us playlist, and again, big shout out to Kim, Yvonne, and Michaela. And Yvonne has shared the first proper album, self-titled, which is 1998, and though I didn't really know anything about Rufus Wainwright when I did that reaction, I think I had heard his name before, and for some reason I thought his timeline, his discography, was set earlier, so I'm surprised that his first proper album is 1998. In any case, the first track is Foolish Love, so I'm inclined to take it more or less at face value, the idea of love which is naive, or short-sighted, or simplistic in understanding, and thus perhaps is expressed, oriented, or experienced in a way that shows a lack of experience, a lack of understanding, a lack of nuance or maturity, though again that might not be the fault of the person who is experiencing or articulating foolish love. It could be due to a lack of consideration, or maybe even not the most admirable attitudes or behaviors on the part of the person who is the object or subject of the love in question. Now, love can of course be non-romantic, or it can be not strictly one-to-one interpersonal, but that's the way I'm inclined to take it. Either way, it's a poetic phrase, if also a bit of a melancholy one. Let's see what it is in practice. This is Rufus Wainwright. It's the first song from his self-titled album, and it's Foolish Love.
I don't wanna hold you and feel so helpless. I don't wanna smell you and lose my senses and smile in slow motion with eyes in love. I twist like a corkscrew, the sweat is rising. I drink from the bottle, weeping, why won't you last? Why can't you last? So I will walk without care, beat my snare, look like a man who means business. Go to all the poshest places with the familiar faces, terminate all signs of weakness. So all for the sake, all for the sake of a foolish love. I will take my coffee black, never snack, hang with the wolves through our shit. I don't wanna smell you and lose my senses and smile in slow motion with eyes in love.
What a remarkable tune on multiple levels. First of all, vocally, and this might not be something that makes sense or that anybody else will hear. It sounded like if you took Johnny Mathis's voice and combined it with Tom Chaplin from Keane, which again is a weird comparison. Don't bite that. Look at you're well no. She's like, but I want to ruin your outro by knocking everything down. Here, please. I know you're going to jump right back down, but just hang out here for a moment, would you? And the song was brighter sonically than I expected. A very dynamic tune. I mean, it was sort of austere and simple, especially at first, just the piano and his voice, to the point where you could actually hear the sounds of the keys moving on the piano. But then it got a bit bigger, a bit fuller, a bit more swanky and jazzy, and had a light feel to it, like I'm in a jazz club where someone's playing an improvisational type of tune. And, you know, it had a bit of a swing to it. And there was, I think, other layers that came in, like these organ chords and a bit more percussion, you know, a bit more drums. But his vocals also had a range, you know, a dynamic quality where, again, softer and more restrained in a lot of places, but then going a bit bigger, flourishing, lower in his register, higher in his register. So, yeah, just a really creative and dynamic tune sonically in terms of the music and the vocals. Lyrically, I caught a lot of tidbits. It felt like it was more comedic than I expected, and that's the other way the song was lighter than I was thinking going into it. I still think there might be a bit of a melancholy, a bit of like, I'm going through motions and doing things that give off a certain impression or air, even though it's maybe a bit more insecure and reaching than it might seem, or than I'm trying to project. But yeah, again, there's some definitely funny lines in there, and you know, some visual references that were themselves amusing. So yeah, I feel like it's, as I said, maybe this idea of like going through certain processes, putting on certain behaviors, all for the sake of a foolish love, a love which won't be as substantive, rewarding, or reciprocal as it might seem, or that you might be striving for in the first place. You know, the reason you're trying to look like, you know, you're someone who knows what they're doing and, you know, has certain interest and taste and hanging out in the poshest of places. So, yeah, it feels like, again, there's a disconnect between what is trying to be done and what is happening, and that actually the narrator is aware of it, which then, like, adds another layer to it. So, yeah, a clever tune, a sonically dynamic tune, a vocally compelling tune. I am very much looking forward to the Rufus deep dive, and once again, major shout out to Yvonne, who has provided all sorts of music and who has been waiting quite a long time for some of these deep dives. Not impatiently by any means, but just that's more a statement about myself and, you know, trying to get to some of these things that have been simmering, waiting in the background. So I am looking forward to more from this album and more from Rufus more generally. And once again, shout out to all three of the folks who provided the We Save Us playlist, Kim, Michaela, and Yvonne, and my initial introduction to this artist. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.